Good afternoon, everyone. We're reading Ancestry by the Baroness, and we should probably start by actually reading it, and then we'll discuss it. So, Rosie, you're perfect for the job.
Ancestry by Baroness Elsa von Freytag-Loringhoven. Dad was corkscrew. Bottle fair ma. Dash, 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 dash. Cried she. Gee, they spiral lawfully brilliancy. Dash. Slick, dash, 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 dash. Snapped he, dash. Pulled cork, dash, and dash. Damn his prick, dash. I've got that turn in me.
Thank you. So let's just start by teasing out where this idea of ancestry first develops in the poem. Are there references to ancestors? Are there references to sort of the act of the engine of ancestry and how people come about? Start with you, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I think just starting out with this dad and ma kind of right next to each other, and I think there's just starting with that, and that doesn't go back very far, but I also think the last line, I've got that turn in me, and thinking about like what we inherit, like that turn, I don't know what that turn means necessarily, but the fact that it's in that dialogue, it's in, is that the Baroness that's saying that at that point? Because I mean, having something in her that has maybe come from this line, come from this ancestry, I think also reminds me of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great. Al?
Yeah, I think the ancestry is mom and dad. That's as far as we go. And they, in an act of intercourse, they produced the speaker, the Baroness.
I think, right, it's sort of subverting the idea that ancestry is this stiff, historical, long form thing. There's sort of this urgency of this is the moment, this corkscrew that was uncorked,
It's the
one
sexual
time
act that created the Baroness, and that is the spiral brilliancy of conception, pulled the cork. It's a poem about the sex act that produced the speaker.
Rosie, what are your thoughts?
So I'm looking at the manuscript, the original one of the Ancestry. So I purposely read out the dashes because in the original manuscript, it's red, so she obviously like added it in later, the dashes, I mean. And so I was thinking, like, could there be, like, is she like thinking about something as she adds those in, or is she purposely leaving out something that she wants to say but not actually say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good segue. What do you think her relation to this act of conception is? There seems to be an irony with this damn his prick. Do you think is she happy that her parents conceived her?
I thought this was her mom's thinking about his prick, but maybe she isn't so satisfied with her father, but also maybe she is, because I've got that prick in me. Maybe is a thing to be proud of.
What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I don't think that she. I think she probably has complicated feelings about it, because it's not like a super simple question. She has all of this stuff that. Gosh, I don't know. Just based on damn his prick, it's like she doesn't seem too happy about it, but I kind of agree with Rosie. I think that it's a double-edged sword in that regard, just that she has mixed feelings about it. I don't know if I have.
Yeah, no, you said things that make a lot of sense. I mean, it's a loud poem, and I think there's a lot of action in this sort of, you might think of it as it being sort of reflective, introspective even, but I think there's this focus on the action of it, and this idea that from a very physical sexual act you get the capacity to reflect, to think about how like everything stems, the chaos and brilliance of the world stems from just the mere fact of existence that comes about through a very physical act.
It reminds me a lot of Stein and A Long Dress, and just this action of creation and not thinking about necessarily the result of it, and maybe how she feels about it isn't like the most important part to me necessarily, but just the fact that it happened and the process for it happening is what she's kind of grappling with, and just the fact of not that it happened, but how it came to be. Yeah.
Definitely. So Al, you get a hard turn. Is there a
As it were.
is there a metapoetic element in this poem?
Yeah, there is. I mean, this is the speaker who's trying to figure out how did I get here? Why am I alive? Who made me? Who made me the way I am? Every Baroness poem has some mental illness in it. She's basically now, in this, I find, very sad moment, she's thinking, well, how did I get to be this way? And the answer is Mom and Dad. The answer actually is Dad, who forced himself on Mom. Bottle with a bottle? Fair Ma. There's drinking. There's corkscrew sex. Ma cries, gee. The spiral refers, I think, there's several spirals here, referring to the turn of the sperm. And she's got that in her, which either means she inherited it or he sexually molested her, which is entirely possible biographically. This is a really bad situation for a poet to be in. And the Baroness made hundreds and hundreds of poems, a lot like this, saying, how the hell did this happen? And Rosie's so right, pointing out all those dashes. It's all the things you can't say because you don't really know how you got to be that way.
Wow, that's great. And sort of to tease into that, like when you say that last line, I've got that turn in me, there's that exclamation point, but do you think like there's a sense of guilt there, or a sense of sort of feeling haunted by that, having that, the vestigial like remnants of that, the horror of that backstory? Is that something she has to grapple with in reading the poem?
Your question implied a really brilliant answer to that. That turn is the same corkscrew, the same violence, sexual violence, the same sperm, the same, that thing that her ancestry is to be the way she is. And she really doesn't. Dylan was being really sweet and nice about this. It could go either way, and so is Rosie. But I think she's not happy about being alive. And she knows exactly who was at fault. Her violent dad and a kind of brutal sexual patriarchy. It's her ancestry and ours, I guess. Definitely.
Did you agree with that, Rosie, or do you want to push back?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I'm noticing like how the mom was probably forced upon by the dad because the mom was cried she, G, snapped. Damn, it just sounds like a lot of like unwanted like presence or unwanted behavior.
Mm-hmm. And there's lingering trauma even of how does she know about this story? Like because to be told this, to be aware of this, is in itself like another extension of that violence. And I think there's and through making it manifest in creating this poem, to reproduce it and recreate it and relive it again and again and again is just the continuation of that horror. Maybe we should sort of offer some final thoughts. I think we sort of come to this sense of an awareness of just how sort of painful and traumatic this poem can be. But maybe we could almost end by saying, is there a way to think of this as a form of therapy, as like relating this in this poetic form? Is there something that we can go from just like dwelling sort of in the horror of it and atrocity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it brings to attention just how important like the process for doing something is, and I mean, obviously, this takes it to an extreme in a very violent way, and the fact that she like has to dwell on that. There's like I think there's two things. It's like she has to dwell on that because that is how she's here, but also dwelling on it allows. I think that there's a lot of possibility for how that can affect her in the future, and I think that is another thing that the dashes give us. It's like all of this empty space fills in so much to think about and so much possibility for the future, based on how she can react to this, to writing this and to this experience in general, and her own ancestry, and because ancestry implies like something after too. So I think that there's kind of a lot there that's left unsaid, that she very much leaves up to us to fill in, and to herself probably as well.
I like that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a final thought. This is not just a meta poem, but a kind of meta poem, because there's a dialogue here, and we're having a dialogue trying to figure it out. The dialogue is first mom speaks, well then first the speaker speaks, then mom speaks in the quotes, G, they spiral, lofty, brilliancy, slick. So that's mom, presumably. Then snapped he, so it sounds like he's saying the next thing. Pulled cork, so he's pulled his penis out after the act of creation that produced the speaker, produced the Baroness. And then the speaker, the result of this act, takes over, damn his prick, and it seems like she's got that in her. So his corkscrewness, which I take to be a certain kind of mental illness, his own insanity, has been left to her in an act of sexual violence. And what she does, and I'm glad Rosie pointed this out, is she creates a poem that replicates the mental illness that she inherited, which is the ultimate critique of the patriarchy. And that's what we have. We have a poem that is mad.
That's a great way of putting it. And I think that act of agency is in sort of disentangling the narrative and saying that this is not this one thing that was just shoved on me. This is me de-narrativizing it and seeing how it actually is these complex voices and phenomena that come together that produce this ancestry that can continue on, as you said. So thank you. This has been great.